Questions raised after Tourism Minister's secretary and girlfriend transferred. Matthew Caruana Galizia files a Freedom of Information request for David Walliams' hosting pay. And Carnival is set to return to Malta this May. All this and more on another episode of Lovin Daily. Good evening, Malta and Gozo. Welcome to yet another episode of Lovin Daily. I'm Matt Baldacchino, joined by my co-host Jonathan Cilia. And John, I just feel like I'm introducing every episode talking about the weather lately, and it's been another cold day today.
It's been a horrendous day, especially in the morning. But listen, we'll get to that. Let's jump into the first story, a big story. Tourism Minister Clayton Bartolo is in hot water over claims that his girlfriend and former private secretary was secretly transferred to another ministry for work she doesn't even turn up for. So a little bit of a spicy story this evening. So this is an alleged relationship between Bartolo and Amanda Muscat. But it's a relationship that has been an open secret for months for many within the government. So you remember just recently we had the scandal over former Education Minister Justine Caruana and her partner Daniel Bogdanovic. Obviously that was a major scandal, led to her resignation. And we're understanding that Bartolo wanted to avoid a similar scandal and quietly ushered his partner from the tourism ministry to the Gozo ministry. Now the thing is, Lovin Malta had actually reached out to both the Gozo ministry and the tourism ministry to confirm this and to see what role Amanda Muscat was having, and they denied that she had been transferred. However, this evening the Shift News has actually published documentation proving this transfer. So very, very interesting development there. Now the government's internal server shows that Muscat was employed as a person of trust within the Gozo ministry as part of the Strategic and Priorities Unit. That information has since been scrubbed from the website, so it's unclear whether she still works there or if she's transferred to another ministry. And obviously questions being sent to the authorities have yet to be answered. Now, you know, this isn't the first time we've heard of a minister having a relationship with someone in their ministry, in their organization, in their secretariat. However, you would think with the recent scandal we just had of Justine Caruana, ministers would be a bit more careful with their ongoings.
No, agreed. Like, we seem to be making the same mistakes over and over again, which, one, from a PR perspective, I frankly cannot understand. And, the fact that this transfer was imposed to avoid another ethics breach is just, the cherry on the scandalous cake. But anyway, moving on from one scandal to another spicy story, Matthew Caruana Galizia has announced he is filing a Freedom of Request information on behalf of the Daphne Caruana Galizia Foundation, looking into the pay that David Walliams received for hosting the Malta Film Awards. Malta Film Awards itself was budgeted to cost around €400,000. Many members of the film industry and several artists and taxpayers were, disgruntled at this budget. Film Commissioner Johan Grech has himself refused to disclose whether the event has gone over budget. Taking to Twitter, Caruana Galizia said, "Hello, David Walliams. We're filing an FOI request for your invoice in Malta, but I was wondering whether you could just cut to the chase and tell us how much you were paid to speak at what has turned into a party political event." Arnold Gassola has also called for the National Audit Office to investigate the costs of the awards night.
Man, it's really crazy what these Malta Film Awards has kind of led to. It's really shown the divisions within Malta's artistic community, even political ideology community. I can't wait to see if this Freedom of Information request, is seen to. I'd love for David Walliams to just come out himself and just say how much he was paid. I mean, I kind of only imagine his DMs and his Twitter feed must be exploding with people tagging him from Malta. I mean, I was on Twitter a little bit ago, and lots of people are tagging him, trying to get his attention. So I wonder if David Walliams will actually react, maybe give us a bit of answers when it comes to how much money was spent to get him to host this show in Malta's very first edition of the Malta Film Awards. Anyway, talking about fun events and moving on to the next story, Carnival is set to return to Malta this May. So, any fans of the very colorful festivities, a classic Maltese tradition, would know that a proper celebration hasn't been held on the island since 2020, obviously due to the COVID-19 pandemic. However, Culture Minister Jose Herrera has announced that the Carnival festivities will be returning this year. So some things you need to note. In February and March, some festivities will be held, but no parades, no public parades, no floats. There will be some exhibitions and some plays. Later on in May, from the 20th of May, parades will be happening, so you'll be seeing costumes and the full-blown fanfare that comes with Carnival. Now the thing is this, we are living in a pandemic. I've learned that, from today to tomorrow, mitigation measures can be changed. Just because they've announced this now, I wouldn't hold my breath. There's a good chance that numbers spike and Carnival has to be postponed again. However, it does seem that they're quite keen on making it happen this year.
Yeah, I mean, fingers crossed, we might be seeing some semblance of Carnival normality returning by May. Don't know about you, John. If you're a Carnival fan, I mean, I haven't been to Carnival, understandably, since before the world ended in February 2020. So, we'll see what happens with this edition. Moving on from one happy story to one slightly worrying story for One TV. One Productions executive chairperson Jason McAuliffe has warned the Labour Party's TV station will, quote, die unless it changes its model to adapt to the changing global media landscape. We, the Maltese society, he said, created these problems ourselves by virtue of the progress of society. He said this to Fabian D'Amicoli during an interview with Malta Daily. The media landscape has obviously changed, right, since One TV was first set up in 1994 when it was one of the first stations on TV in Malta. Print media killed itself because newspapers all went online, he said. We, one, obviously need to find a direction on how to change our broadcasting level, and unless we do that, we're going to die. It's so clear. However, we keep digging our heads in the sand when it comes to taking certain decisions.
It's interesting to see kind of McAuliffe's vision for the channel. Lots of people in Malta watch One. A lot of people watch Net as well. These are the partisan channels, so they're always going to have their base. I mean, obviously, it's good to recognize that print had its issues over the last few years as digital kind of really kicked into gear. It'll be interesting to see what One does. As far as One's editorial policy, obviously it's a very partisan policy. It's no secret that Lovin Malta is actually taking both One and Net to court over what we feel is a lack of transparency and accountability when it comes to party media in Malta. If you're interested in kind of our perspective on this and how we believe party media should be handled in Malta, please go to cacciatori.com. We have a breakdown there, as well as some incredible articles and videos explaining why it's important for transparency and accountability in Malta. And I'm just going to end with this little proviso to remind you just how silly some of the situation is. One Productions, which runs Labour TV's basically online TV productions, hasn't filed its account since 2010. MediaLink, the company that runs the PN's TV station Net, hasn't filed its account since 2003. So this is, nearly 2 decades ago and nearly a decade and a half ago. So, it's really time that something is done on that. So cacciatori.com. Moving on, from one bleak story to lots of bleak weather stories, as we hinted in the intro. Malta, faced some heavy gale force winds as well as some hail today. A hailstorm battered the island. And this is because gales between force 7 and 8 were recorded on the island. And, you've heard of snowmen. A lot of hailmen were being spotted around the island today. As, the hail actually caused quite a thick layer of white to appear all over the island. Apart from this, there was some heavy rains. So I do hope that everyone's roofs were plastered fairly and well, because if not, you probably had some leakages today. I mean, yeah, there was some crazy rain and storms, and you can check it all on our Instagram and our TikTok page.
Yeah, be sure to head over to our Instagram page to check out the lovely plethora of Borina photos and flooding as one does when it rains in this country. And tell us in the comment section, should people stop posting about the rain every time it does so? That brings us to an end of another episode of Lovin Daily. This has been Matt, joined by Jonathan Chilia, and have an evening full of lovin'.